What's up? Welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Bryan, and today we're going to be diving into the crowdfunding roundup, Skip or Back, where I dive into different campaigns and give you my thoughts and opinions on whether or not we should be backing or skipping this. And these are basically my opinions on these titles and how they interest me. But I'm going to give you my thoughts and reasonings as to why I want to back a game, why I'm not backing a game, or I am skipping a game entirely. So if that might be helpful for you, if you're making your own backing decisions to see someone kind of go through the same process, stay tuned for that. Let's go. Okay, so for the first game we're going to be taking a look at is Maldum Dungeons of Everon. And this is one that is interesting for me because it's a game that I didn't really see much about. There's only 18 hours left in this campaign. When I finally started hearing about this, maybe like a day and a half ago, shout out to Legion Games for his roundup, because I wouldn't have known about it without his coverage. So I want to dive into this a little bit more because, one, I've heard really good things about the system, and two, it has a really cool terrain setup, and that's one of the reasons why I'm taking a look at this. Now, there are two different types of rewards you can look at when you're choosing to back this game. You've got the game setup, which is using the core space system. I think Battle Systems is who set this up, and I've checked it out on BGG. This game, this system, this creator has very, very strong reviews in terms of how people like in the flow of this overall game system. So that's intriguing. But on top of that, you have a second pledge, which is a terrain pledge, where you can basically order their award-winning terrain set here that you can use for Dungeons and Dragons or other types of games that you might have in development. A game like, where'd it go? Dungeon Universalis, as I've talked about, where those games can kind of adapt to any kind of system you have. This is very, very interesting, and I'm very, very, very tempted to the point of I might be backing this. So, and then they have a combined pledge where you can combine the two. Now, there's one thing that I couldn't verify myself through the campaign page, and we're going to talk about that right now if we scroll on down. So the first thing they want to talk about is they've got the terrain. They're showing you how this terrain works, fully modular. I think this is super cool. You can build out an entire realm for people to play around in. I love the design thoughts of that. The only thing I'm not totally sure of, and I do think this is the way it is, and I'll explain it, is the core set, the box for £100 gets you the game, all the systems, the minis, but it also gives you its terrain set. You get this for the setup. I think that's an incredible value by itself. The game, I hear, is great, but you're going to get a kind of condensed version of its terrain setup. Now, I believe that if you went with this has 100 pieces in it. I believe that if you go with the purely terrain pledge, it's much more robust. I mean, this by itself looks more robust. My question is then how I would love if they were a little bit more clear in regards to the combined pledge here for 175 euros, what it looks like. Now, the picture here looks like it's a much bigger experience, and I do think that is what it is. And I think it makes it from a 2x2 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter to a 4x2 setup instead, which is still cool. It's just really cool. So the question is 175 pounds worth it? This will be coming to retail, but I'm not sure about the exclusivity of any of this content or stretch goals exclusive. I haven't been able to see anything regarding that in this view. So right now, this is the one that is probably peaking for me on being a back. It's super, super interesting. And I think the value in terms of getting the terrain plus a system, the only thing that holds me up on the core box is personally, I have a ton of dungeon crawlers where the points I'm trying to stay as far away from dungeon crawlers until I've worked myself through my current outset. So adding another one is just kind of daunting to me. It's like, man, I don't think I'm ever actually going to play it. but the value that the fact that I could take this stuff and utilize in other systems is really, really unique. And there's probably a 90% chance I will be backing it, but it really depends on the rest of the games on this list, and we'll talk about those next, with the next one being this weird game, Citadels of the Multiverse Desperation. This is on Backerkit. This will be the first time I have ever covered a game on Backerkit. This is a card game, and when I was looking at this, I was trying to understand the concept behind this Citadels of the Multiverse game. It effectively kind of reminded me of a card game of Marvel United, with the locations and the obviously superhero themes, but I don't know if I necessarily need another card system. So this is one that I dove into, trying to understand all of the variants here, trying to understand the systems, and it just doesn't, to me, seem like it's grasping me. So I was kind of curious what other people thought about this one. I dived in as much as I could to see what's interesting. It's got a lot of generic stuff in terms of Omnitron X parts. I mean, nothing about this was shooting to me as like, yes, back this now. This game looks super exciting. It's got super incredible, unique things to play with. I wasn't impressed with it, so I was kind of curious. I was kind of asking the audience, what do you guys think? Is this one that you're interested in at all? It is Backerkit. It's got nearly 5,000 backers, which is pretty shocking. 29 hours left, so there's only going to be a day left of this video before this campaign is ended. But from what I see, it looks just like a pretty simple, basic card game. I hate this Digify effects. In fact, when you watch this video, we're going to mute the sound as soon as I start. Whoever their digital designer really needs to turn off the glitch graphics. Like, this is just insane. It's the entire video is glitch. And I know glitch. I might use my logo for the intro uses the glitch. But this is absurd. The entire game the whole video is glitching. So it was actually distracting for me to watch the video. And that's one of my pet peeves and red flags for games, is if I can't understand your video and understand what's going on, it's already a no. So the next game, let's keep it going. I am backing this one. You can see I'm currently backing this one, but it's one that I'm actually kind of on the fence about. And I hate saying that, because Townspeople Hustle, I've played this game with King of Average. I've wanted this game since the first campaign. It's definitely a super cool, easy to play system. But why am I on the cusp? Why am I right there ready to cancel my pledge? It's actually nothing to do with the game, and more to do with my collection and where do I see this fitting in. It's super unique, and I think it's actually like a pretty stable collection piece. But I've got Kingdom Death Monster, Aeon's Trespass Odyssey, Oathsworn, Primal. I have a lot of boss battler games either here, and that's just a few. That's just like what I could point at, or on the way. When is this going to be the game I reach for during game nights? That's my fear. The reason I wanted to back this game personally was because I wanted it to also be a game that I could eventually introduce to my daughter, because I think it's super cute in a kind of Simpsons kind of way. And I still think that. But man, it's like, it's expensive. And I also dislike that you have a big box and we're going to have two small mini boxes. It really irks me. I really would love to find a way to have that all combined into a singular box to reduce space and just keep it all condensed, especially because I feel like the Odd Jobs expansion is pretty much like essential. It should be just able to fit in with the core game anyways. But then the minis from the this guy right here, what's the name of it? Foul Neighbors. It's just like, where are you going to fit that in the core box? I'm not sure. So this is one that I rate it a back. If you wanted my opinion, this is a back, strong opinion. I think it's a great, very easy to play game with an extremely unique system. But I don't know if I want it personally, especially for the price. And especially when I'm looking at previous campaigns that we just talked about with Maldium. Do I have the money to dump down $1,000 this month? Because that's what this week almost it feels like that way. And that's because the next game, and that's Dei Divide et Imperia. This is from Ludus Magnus Studios. And this is a game I would be backing right now if it wasn't for Ludus Magnus Studios being the production company. I think this game looks really intriguing. Area Control is another game that is very, very interesting for me. I love manipulating and using strategy to find different ways to win the game, getting certain victory points, whatever it may be. Although I do like combat in those games, or the differences of combat, like Inish or Blood Rage, they all have some sort of combat-like mechanic. I really do like that implemented into my Area Control. DEI really takes that away and says it's more about resource gathering and optimization, which is interesting because it's like the cover art and like the design space here to me shoots out as... I don't know why it's playing music right now. It's really annoying. Oh my god, I don't have to restart this. It's so annoying. But the design aesthetic for this shoots to me like combat, like space combat, like Frostpunk, space fighting. I don't know. Or not space fighting, but post-apocalyptic snow fighting. There we go. And so to hear that it's not that way is kind of disappointing. It also has a really cool modular board setup where you can kind of actually design the layout of the terrain yourself prior to the gameplay, which will create interesting storylines, because you actually can be like, well, you know, I want more people to focus over here, or I want to have some more interaction with people, so let's do it this way. I think that's really cool. But Ludus Magnus Studios is a company on my list of companies I do not back unless I just buy it at retail if I can. They have poor production quality. They have delays. That's pretty much it. Poor production quality and delays. When this game originally, because this is a reprint, when this originally launched, we saw major warping within the cardboard for a lot of people's player boards. Just stuff that is not acceptable for a deluxeified version of a game. And that's what makes me nervous about this, especially when you're looking at the price point of the pledge that, you know, you're most likely going to want to get the all-in, which is down here at €279. Again, $300, because you got to factor in shipping and whatnot. It's a little much. And again, another game that has so many boxes to figure out a good condensed way to sort it all. I did find a nice 3D print insert, but you're gonna have like a pretty like 7-centimeter lift or something like that off the core box. It's a pretty significant lift. So this is one that I was going to back. I went into this session planning on backing this game. In fact, a little behind the scenes story, I texted Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and I asked him, hey, if you could only own one, and this, I can't remember the games I asked him, but there were some that were like pledge manager games that I had pledges in for like at $1. And DEI was a game that was on the list. So it was like games that are coming up and games that I had to pledge $1. And it's like, if you could only own one of these games, DEI, I don't want to say the other ones to throw them on the bus, which one would it be? And I knew that the games that I was recommending were ones that Alex had liked enough that it triggered me to ask him. And he said DEI was it. And so that stuck with me to the point where I was like, man, I really want to play this game. I wish I got the chance to play it at Dice Tower West. I didn't, which is a mistake of my part, because it really would have solidified to me if I should have be backing this. So this is one, again, I'm watching, but I'm running out of time. You got 2 days left. I am following this project to see if it's something that I want. But again, it's hard to say. So let's head to the next one. We have 3 more left to go, with one of them being another one that's like just killing me because I want to back it. This is Galactic Renaissance, the designer of Inish by Matago. This one is only intriguing me because it's Inish like history. Like they're branding it in a way that this is related to Inish in a way. But when I watch the video, it just is uninspiring, and I'm not sure if this is even worth talking about on this video. Effectively, you are going to be using politics and deck building to build a strategy where you're going to send your workers or your embassy people to different planets in these regions, trying to score victory points that are going to be changing throughout the way the game works. But there's some weird mechanics. So the way the game ends is when someone reaches 30 points, but you also have to reach that with a 10-point scoring point. So if you're at 25 points and you score 5 points, get 30, that's not a win. But if you're at 20 points and you score 10 points to get to 30, that is a win. So I don't know, conceivably what could happen, but you could have someone at 25 victory points get 5 to 30, and then you could have someone at 15 get 15 points, if that's even possible, I don't know. But they would win because they had that 10-point gain that turn. That stuff is kind of weird to me. I'm not sure if I like it. I also don't really like the theme or the art. I think the art is uninspired to me. I'm a big space person. I think I love space games, but this might be the first game that I was like, man, I really like the Inish's theme better. The whole Celtic theme was way more enjoyable and thematic to me than this one. So especially names like the Galactic Senate, I'm like, it's just so overused, and it's the first time I might be jaded when it comes to space stuff. And I'm a space guy. It's my thing. So this is one that I'm going to be watching. I'm mostly more concerned about reviews, but I think this is going to be a title that when it does land and people start getting it, it's going to be quickly forgotten. Kind of like a title like Kemet, which is still good. It's actually still over here on my shelf. I still enjoy Kemet, but no one really talks about it. It's kind of forgotten, and it's kind of brushed. I don't even know how many top 50s it's on anymore. If I were to look at my friends and my content creator friends, I don't know how many people even look at Kemet anymore as a game that they play. So that's where I'm fearful with Galactic Renaissance. I'm most likely sure I can pick this up at retail, especially from my local game store. So this is one I'm definitely skipping. It just doesn't excite me. I don't think the gameplay looks as intriguing, and I don't know if it's necessarily there yet for me. The next one is a two-parter, but I'm only interested in one parter, and that's the Point City. I was going to say Point Salad because my brain wanted to go there. Point Salad was a game that was sent to me for a mini box review. I haven't done the mini box review because I have a really hard time conceptually talking about a small box, because I feel like I can only talk for about like 5 minutes, even though I ramble forever. But I really enjoyed Point City. I thought it was actually a very intriguing, interesting game that I can introduce to people who are new to board gaming. And then they actually really enjoy it. The combination of the draft and the simple art and the design of the set collection really works for people. Point City takes that design and kind of amplifies it, kind of like triples the intensity a little bit by letting you build a infrastructure of buildings that are also going to have cascading effects where it's going to make things better for you as you go. But the interesting part is the open drafting section, where used to have you either draft points or you draft salad pieces. It was one of the other two. These ones are actually going to be, if you draft a city piece, the card that replaces it is going to be the reverse side, which is going to be a resource side. So players are going to have to manipulate a continuing puzzle, which I really think is interesting. I wonder if they have so here's an example of that middle drafting board I was talking about, where you have some resources and you have some city pieces. But when you take a piece, it's going to replace it with the alternate side, which I think is really unique and excited. Deep Dive, I'm not really interested in this one. It's not really on my speed, so I didn't want to spend too much time looking at it. But this is a game that I'm interested in. I probably will own it at some point. Backing it, probably not. If you really want to support the company Fallout Games and support these type of productions, I think this is something worth backing. But I'm just going to wait for retail and pick it up when I'm ready. Not necessarily something I need right away. The final game we're taking a look at here is Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. I did a should you back on this game. I was very adamant how great the experience was for this one. The biggest issue that I have with this one is the necessary need to keep this in my collection on top of my too many bones that I have back here. There's a lot of overlap, and I feel like I talk a lot. There's a saying that I use quite a bit when it comes to life in general, and that's when you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. And so when I'm saying yes to playing this, I'm going to be saying no to playing my Too Many Bones collection. And while I don't necessarily think that's a terribly bad thing, I just don't know how many times this is going to win out. And if it does win out, is there a need to own this, the Too Many Bones? Because I think there's too much overlap. I'm also not that interested in its narrative campaign it's providing. I've talked about how my My narrative story collection is already way too high as it is. I have way too many campaign games. I'm trying to remove that. I want to keep it to single night experiences as it is. Too Many Bones right now fulfills that, because I can do an adventure in about 3.5 hours, do a full set of adventure, enjoy the feeling, and then be done with it. Elder Scrolls does provide the aspect of continually upgrading your character, which is cool. I really do actually think that's an interesting aspect. So I'm still interested in this one. And I am a sucker for chip theory games. I just don't know how many. I was looking over here at Victorium and Hoplomachus. I've got both of them sitting there. I don't know why I looked over there, but I'm a sucker for chip theory games product. I haven't yet got my Burden Cycle pledge in. I'm feeling like I am most likely going to back this one. But I don't know, man. It really, God, dude, it's just how many games do we have time to play? And is my appetite, my eyes greater than my actual desire to, or my time to play it? So that's that. We're going to go and cut it back to the main camera. A lot of these games are highly recommended for me to back. We have Maldum, I'm recommending that one. Sentinels Multiverse, not recommending. Townspeople Hustle, strong recommendation. DEI, iffy, mostly because of Ludus Magnus, but the gameplay sounds intriguing. It doesn't necessarily fit my desire for what I want in an aerial control game, but I hear that the puzzle is so engrossing and unique that it's a pretty solid game. Probably Ludus Magnus's best title to date. The next thing is Galactic Renaissance. It's a retail purchase for me, if anything. Really going to see how the reviews flesh out. Point City Deep Dive. Point City looks great, but I'll be picking that up at retail if I do. And then Elder Scrolls Betrayal. Great looking game. Probably the cheapest we're going to be getting it right now is during this this GameFound campaign. It's just really, how much room do we have for more of these campaign light games? So that's it. This is my roundup for the games. I wanted to end this video and talk about something that this was kind of in line with a direction I would love to take this series. The should you back or not should you back, the back or skip series used to be a bi-weekly series. I kind of took a hiatus because I was in Cleveland for a while, then I was in Dice Tower West for a while. So it's been a little bit since we've actually done this series, but I've been thinking about changing it maybe to a weekly series or maybe bi-weekly depending, but I was thinking about doing the games that are going to be ending this week, doing this same roundup like I did in terms of my interest level, and then seeing how it goes for you guys. If you like a weekly series of where I do the games that are ending this week. The only problem is this, obviously today, a lot of these games are ending in like 24 hours, which is really not helpful. So I need to make sure I film this like on a Sunday for a Monday release. But the Mondays have been my gameplay releases. So I'm still going to be playing with the timeline, but really depends on what you guys say in the comment section. So please comment if you want to help the direction. Patreon people, especially the people at the influencer level, your votes matter because that's how we decide the direction of the channel. So I'm going to leave this with that. Thank you for watching the show. My name is Bryan with Game Brigade. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Leave a wolf emoji if you're part of my OG crowd. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.